Chairman, are you ready to begin the meeting? Please stand. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd also like you to please remain standing after the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Beginning of April, we received some very bad news about one of our volunteers passing, and we're going to have a moment of silence. So let me say a few words. We have our volunteer is Rico Johnson. He passed away unexpectedly on April the 8th. Our sympathies go out to his family and friends. Rico had applied and was accepted in the Port's volunteer program in December of 2014. He had completed all the online basic training and submitted and was waiting for his quick card. His goal was to obtain long-term employment with one of the Port's affiliates. So again, I'd like to have a moment of silence. Volunteer with such a dedication to the service by the Port. Again, our deep sympathies to his family. Let me start off with the Master of Arms. The first area tonight, again, notice submittals for our meeting in line with the West Virginia Open Meetings Governmental Proceedings Act. On April the 20th, we submitted to the West Virginia Secretary of State. And also with the State Journal on April the 20th. Local newspapers, we published with the Weirton Daily Times, the Snoopville Herald Star, the Wheeling Intelligencer, and the Lawrenceburg Journal. Again, and under state law, the requirement is a minimum of 5 business days. And we, again, try to be very consistent with that requirement, at least 5 days. Email distribution, we have our list, and on the 21st, we sent out, again, meeting notices. And also on the 27th, we put out a notice via Facebook, given the popularity of that meeting. Second order of business on correspondence. Last Friday, we received a Freedom of Information request. Under state law, in this case West Virginia Statute 29, we have 5 business days to respond to that request. An email was sent out to the Board of Directors with details on that, and because of the sensitive nature of that request, I will not be providing any details at this moment. But we are in the process of responding to that request, and I believe, in fact I have confidence that we'll be able to respond to the requester for that information within the 5 days. So by tomorrow we will have our response back, we're ready to go for this FOIA.
What are you charging for that?
Given the limited nature, free of charge. Unless you want me to.
No.
Third item of business, committee activity during the course of the month of April. A safety subcommittee meeting was held on April the 14th. And customary, we published both the minutes, and again, those meetings are open to the public for attendance. Minutes were again posted on our website. The week of April the 14th, we had several finance subcommittee meetings that were held of a sensitive nature. So those were closed session. They were not open to the public. No minutes were published. And again, this is consistent with the West Virginia Open Governmental Proceedings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law. My last order of business related to training. On the 21st of April, we held a training session on West Virginia Governmental Ethics Act and West Virginia Open Governmental Meetings Act, again, the Sunshine Law. It's held here, available to the public at the Holiday Inn.
Is that free again?
That was free. Our public benefit. We obviously send out our notices as we do for all meetings. Training materials, in this case, both videos and slides were provided by the West Virginia Ethics Commission. A thank you note was sent to them and was very well received. We received response back from both the commissioner of that agency as well as the chief legal counsel, again, thanking us for appreciating the feedback and the use of their materials.
Are they gonna update Mary Tyler Hall?
Yes, let's hold that. And I gave them her name. Training slides these training slides were posted on the WAPA website. An overview presentation was also created to tie together the state supply materials with our needs as a political subdivision of the state. And I have a copy of that presentation to pass around to the board. And then the topic now will be, and also customary for us, we also prepare certificates of completion, and the various board members who attended received theirs. Other people that were public, their copies in the back. Farley has his. Bethany received hers. Jimmy got his. So again, part of our Les has his. So again, if you attend, you get a certificate. You can hold yours up.
Those are free too?
Those are free too. You know, you can frame them, you can hang them on the wall. You know, it's part of our package for attendance. Next topics for training. We are searching for guest speakers, authorities in the areas. We have several topics that are related to court business, as well as from both a business perspective as well as from an operational perspective. Topics of interest that we are looking for speakers are antitrust and restraint of trade. The second topic, insider trading and related party transactions. We are also preparing one on scope and considerations, preparing a code of conduct. What does that in fact mean for a board and for its officers of a corporation? And another topic that also been raised is industrial security and threats to corporate data, and we have at least one potential lead there. So at this point, our next session to be determined, but again, we're looking for good speakers, something that's very germane, obviously, to the interest of the court, and we are proceeding every month to hold something, again, of value to the public as well as obviously value to the court. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Marty. I also want to add a comment about the training. I want to thank, first off, Marty. He did a great job coordinating everything and working with the state and keeping everything flowing, and did very efficient work, so I appreciate it. And I want to thank the state agencies that supported it with documentation. Also, I think the auditor's office, was Robert's Rules done? Was that the auditor's office?
That was the state auditor's office.
State auditor. Thank them and the Ethics Commission for their support. And with that, we'll start with the roll call for the board to decide. Doug Velagal. Here. Dan Spicker. Dan's on the phone. I'll just talk to him. Dan. He's here. I got you. I can hear you, but nobody else can. I can tell. Farley heard me.
Is that a soccer game?
Yeah. Bethany Goddard. Mark Liptus is absent. Santos Santoro is not here. Dan Swan is also not here. Farley Wood. Here. Okay, Little John. Here. John Barber. You're on there too, John. Okay. All right, hold on. Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. All right, with that, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as reported? Second. Any comments or questions on the agenda? All in favor of approving the agenda, signify by saying aye. All opposed? All right, next item is the approval of the minutes from March 20th. Oh, yeah, I didn't introduce the key people in the audience. Tonight we have Bob Gray, Tom Gray, Tetra Tech. I got all of them. Bob, see, I knew there was something. Tom Gray with Tetra Tech on the engineering side and then providing services. We had U.S. Bank representatives, Melissa Watts, she just told me that. David Alexander and John Watts, nice to have you here. We also have Bob Shima, Captain Bob, with, he helped us with the sonar and the mapping with, TS Electric is also here. Mike Bellato with Wing Board as board members here. We've got Mr. and Mrs. Lash. We've also got Reserve Capital, Dan Brennan, out of Chicago, with the financial advisor for the private side of the financing, with his support team, Frank and Rod. Rod's with Great Plains Biosciences. Frank's with the team for engineering. He's Great Plains. Mr. Phillips in the back there. Trying to hide. All right, with that, let's go to the next item, which is the approval of the previous minutes, March 25th. Can I have a motion? Second by Little John. Any comments or questions on the minutes? No comments or questions. All in favor of approving March's minutes, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Minutes approved. New business. We didn't have unfinished business. Resolution. We've got two resolutions for this month. First one I will read, and then we'll motion for bringing it to the floor. The board resolution 110, 2015, contract engineering, Tetra Tech. A Weirton Area Port Authority board resolution for the purpose of issuing an engineering design contract for the Pike Island Port Intermodal Rail Terminal facility. Whereas the WAPA board recognizes that the Pike Island Port Intermodal Rail property will need support in structural, electrical, civil, and mechanical engineering, which is necessary to meet insurance, finance requirements, and engineering design codes. Whereas contracting companies have been sought out who provide the engineering services required for the Pike Island Port infrastructure projects, and it was determined that Tetra Tech contractors in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is best suited and willing to provide the service with this information being provided to the executive director. Therefore, let it be resolved, the board authorizes the executive director to negotiate a performance-based structural, civil, and mechanical engineering contract with Tetra Tech contractors, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This contract shall minimally include electrical, mechanical, structural, and civil design reports of the Pike Island Port and Rail Terminal and other WAPA terminals. To develop the structural design for the Pike Island one-man lighthouse for construction at the Pike Island Port and Rail Terminal. Develop the structural design for the Pike Island Pool bulkhead seawall based on the initial engineering designs done for the Pike Island Pool Marine Terminal. Develop the structural design for the Pike Island Intermodal Rail Terminal water intake system based on initial engineering designs done for the Pike Island Pool Marine Terminal. Further resolved that the contractor shall acquire and hold throughout the term of the contract commercial liability, workman's compensation, and surety insurance, which shall cover the structural engineering assessment and the total value of the contract. And further resolved that prior to executing the contract, the executive director shall present the contract to the board for approval. Can I have a motion to bring this to the floor for discussion? No, second. Bethany? Comments, questions with respect to this resolution? No comments, questions? All in favor of approving board resolution 110, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The record shows passed unanimously. The next board resolution, Mr. Vellerball.
This is Board Resolution 111-2014, Interim Executive Director Extension.
Should be
Correct.
15.
2015.
2015. Weirton Area Port Authority Resolution to extend the current Interim Executive Director appointment to October 31st, 2015. Whereas WAPA amended Resolution 93-2014 and approved and extended.
No, that's right.
No, is that correct?
That's right.
That was 2014. That was last year.
Go ahead.
Yes. and approved an extension of the appointment of Mr. Carl Kepfer IV through April 2015. And whereas the search for an executive director is ongoing and the board has received interest in its advertisement for filling this position. Now therefore, it is resolved that the WAPA Board of Directors authorizes WAPA's chairman to extend the appointment of the interim executive director through October 31st, 2015.
Okay, with that, I've got a motion to bring us to the floor. Discussion. Bartley first, second.
Second.
Religal. Any comments or questions? No comments or questions? All in favor of approving board resolution 111, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Show approved, passed unanimously. All right, now we're into the key performance indicators. These are some measurements we keep track of month to month, and we go over every month with the board. With the governance side, we've had monthly meetings, we're now at 5 in 2015. We approved 10 resolutions this year for a total of 106 to date. No written consents, but 13 from the beginning. We have rejected 1 resolution in 2015 and 2 we've amended 3 and with 5 in committee. The committee is structured, the active committees are finance, asset operations, labor, and safety. And then attendance for our meetings.
It was like 33.
So we've been holding in the 30s the last, for late 2014 and 2015. For our social media side, Facebook, we're up to 490, so we get about 7 to 10 a month growth in the following aspects. YouTube, we had 63 viewers last month on the meeting and 54 on the training, and 11 for the OM&E. Open meetings and ethics, sorry, from the last training. Business partners, we had no registrations this month, but you can see the monthly activity. And volunteers are 20 for this month with respect to the team. Metal processing, is this in pounds or tons? Pounds, right there. Okay, so we've shipped, where did 736,000 pounds in March and 620,000 in April. And we had 305,000 pounds of customer loads. So we've been removing raw materials and other storage stuff and customer items. We've had customer manifest on-site and open manifest for 25, shipped and closed 24. Internal work permits, open new permits are 3 with 1 closed this month. And certifications, 4 on the forklift this month, aerial lift 2, and hot work, which is well done.
Yeah, and it's safety.
Grinding and all that.
Safety, no, it's the guy that is certified for monitoring safety for the fire.
Terminal training, we have 4 active trainees, and you can see every month it changes a little bit. We have FEMA certificates, 9 earned this month, for a total of 367. And you can see the breakdown. There's 4 levels of training, online free training, which is a basis for getting engaged with the Port Authority, both on the customer and the supplier side, but also as an employee or volunteer. So if you're interested in that, you want to get into the website has links for training.
So Randy got to his level 3.
Oh, did, okay, Randy, good job. Six Sigma black belt, or 6 Sigma belt certification with 6 white belts, and 2 yellow belts with 2 in Q. They finished the training, but we have to do the finalized support activities. No green and no black belts. Terminal security, TWIC credentials. 27, we haven't had any new ones. Ralph, you got yours in February? Or was it recent? You and Lou. Yeah, so we haven't had, you were the two in February. Okay, we haven't had any new ones for TWIC in the last couple of months. Department of Homeland Security, sensitive, secure information, non-disclosures. We didn't have any activity on that, and CPAT access this month. Progress update. We've shown this slide various times, and I put it up there for somewhat of a repetitive activity, but it is simple, even though there's a lot of dot blocks. What I want to start with is the big blocks on the diagrams really show public-private. Weirton Area Port Authority public. The Weirton Area Port Authority Inc. is a nonprofit affiliate. Private affiliates. The private affiliates are special purpose companies that work with the port authorities to develop and support different needs, and you'll see in some of the future slides examples of that. We also have a variety of financing and funding structures, equity placements, debt incentives, which is a tax incentive. It's an IRS 6320 and an IRS 338H10 incentivizing certain investments in certain areas like infrastructure and others, and certain methodologies that allow for that. And then we also have bonding authorities. So we have a variety of methods of public and private finance. And you can see that it's a committee-based structure. So it's not, there's a procedural decision activity involved. These are the private affiliates today. These were set up this year, just at the end of last year. They have different services. Intermodal Holdings is a holding company for financing services and other transactions. Inland Services provides a variety of professional services to the whole construct. It is one grouping, a family of businesses omnibus, which means everything rolls up into a reporting mechanism from the top, but they also have their own financial, private financial, and confidentiality aspects do not break out a lot of private. It's a total picture for the public side and public and private information and maintained.
And a whole bunch of lawyers.
Yeah, lots of lawyers. And the nonprofit also has board of directors, chairman, working groups, and council. And so this is the general structure. It gets complicated with a variety of blocks and businesses, but it's pretty simple. There's public, there's private, and there's nonprofit in the middle. And you work together through various legal constructs, managing the intellectual property of each group separately with firewalls and collaborating. Legally structured so that it protects everybody's interest and moves the project forward without any animosity or angst in the translation. This is another diagram with a variety of businesses. Here you see the port, Wink, Tri-State, and Gracie Contract. This is a concessionaire. Wink is the nonprofit. Tri-State was one of the private affiliates. And this is an alignment to metropolitan statistical area in section 559 alignment. That's with the CBP, Customs and Border Patrol, which allows for their cooperation and participation in some of the transactions. West Virginia, again, we're addressing the 3-county metropolitan statistical area of Hancock, Brooke, and Jefferson County. It's a 3-county MSA. And we've gone through forensic and compliance audits and legal governance in March.
The MSA by federal standards ends up being
Steubenville, Weirton, metropolitan statistical area. Okay.
and the district is broken in.
And Jefferson.
And
Good, thanks for that. Within this, we established an Office of Executive Director, which is a firewall for the private investment aspects, where this is the vetting and the control and the management of the private information, private intellectual property. It doesn't come to the board until, and unless it's specifically required for any information, and then it's a high-level aspect. So we're not providing all the intellectual property and private property of the private investment to the public for the competitors and anyone else. So it's an important aspect. You can't bring investors in if you're going to lose. You can't protect that information. So we've done a good job legally structured to really prevent that with the structures we have. And on this side, we have the Intermodal Holdings, Inland Services, which were the two of the other affiliates. Intermodal Holdings has acquired the controlling interest of MBS Enterprises, which is the Intermodal Rail Terminal and Metal Service Center, and where a lot of the job plan 1 and the beginning of the activities of the freight movements that you read, that's where that's occurring today. And various contracts, agreements, rights of use, to allow inland services and the others to use the development, which we've been developing for the last 5 years or 10 years, since the course has been online with the teams. Is there anything on here you want to add, Carl or Mike, that I haven't touched on?
A lot of lawyers.
A lot of lawyers. Go ahead, MJ. Again, the system services and property management. This is a diagram that's going to show Intermodal Holdings is the controlling interest of MBS Enterprises. That's one of the affiliates, the holding company. They provide, let's see, IRS 338H10 is an equity placement and investment into Intermodal Holdings, which brings private investment, private financing in, which then, through contracts, Inland Services provides services back to Intermodal Holdings, whether it be legal, lobby, engineering, human resources, et cetera, the gamut of the professional services. And is established a legal for trade SLA, service level agreement for MyPort, which is the network. MBS Enterprises LLC was a business that's been operating in the Hackman Industrial Park and partnered with Mrs. Diana Birch Flash today. It's been converted into the Metal Service Center and is the property that's Intermodal Holdings is got a controlling interest, but again, the affiliate, West Virginia Real Estate Trust, as a property manager, will manage terminal access and tenants in the property through agreements, various tenant and terminal agreements. Again, revenue, we're generating revenue utilizing the facility. And then MBS Sales, it's still operating, MBS Enterprises is operating as MBS Enterprises with business license from the city to continue and grow into the port terminal that we're building here.
With a lot of pain.
Okay. A lot of lawyers. Go ahead.
Where's Joe?
What's that?
Where's Joe?
Metal Service Center, this is some statistics and information for everyone on what the Metal Service Center market. The economic impact of metal service centers. In the country today, there's 547,000 direct jobs in metal service centers, paying wages of $45 billion, with a revenue and impact of $229 million. That's the direct impact of metal service centers, their employees, and their businesses. So that's what we're building, another metal service center that ties into the national networks in transportation logistics that brings the revenue. The suppliers of these service centers have another 750,000 employees, another 50,000 in wages as a support function to metal service centers, and 150 million in economic impact, $1 billion in revenue. This is billion.
That's a trillion.
No, this is million, that's billion. Induced means with all that activity going on, there are people shopping at the gas stations and the stores and et cetera. So those are other jobs as you bring those populations and that employment online. But metal service centers, they're not warehouses. They have a variety of high-value services. We get into controlling and monitoring and managing the products and ensuring and protecting and et cetera. And you bring, with all the services comes a lot higher value than simple warehousing, storing in place, and somebody pick up. So it's bringing the value up. Average wage is $60,900 with benefits, and that's a statistic. 6.9% unemployment and 10 million people. Well, who knows? It's a statistic. It's probably not. All right, go ahead. The material definitive agreement equity, debt and bond financing, these are interdependencies, which means they each depend on each other in various aspects. This is back to Board Resolution 88 from the Finance Committee Charter. And Weirton Area Port Authority, the public and private stewardship is we've invoked a Yellow Book management audit resolution. And we'll have, the Yellow Book is a GAO. I'm sure there aren't, I really don't know this, but I haven't heard too many state agencies locally doing GAO audits. So we should be proud to be at the level that we have qualified and feel that we can accomplish that audit. And it's an audit that will help us improve even further. But within that, there's statistical area recommendations, and the Finance Committee really will be the core management of this, which is the Charter Committee from the Port Authority. But you have and you see the structure, we'll build underwriting subcommittees, emerging growth subcommittee, tax exempt, taxable subcommittee, and authority bond subcommittees, so that there are expertise in various areas of the financing that tie into the audits and really build a robust procedural model that ties everything together cleanly, but has a good vetting tool that has experts vetting it. It's not the board up here, we're not experts in tax. So the structure's perfect for good expertise. And build these subcommittees with some of our member departments. More to add, Carl? Mike?
It's by invite only, subcommittee.
Subcommittees already. Good. This is an example of intermodal or inland services, a service provider. And so to describe a little bit more about that affiliate, and other affiliates it's similar, but this is a little bit different because it's providing services. So Inland Services LLC, through Master Services Agreement, can provide a various, this is a cross-section of services, but there are more. And then if we don't have it in, if Inland Services doesn't have it in-house, they can contract expertise in certain areas where they need it, or they can provide it in-house. But they also then provide services through affiliate services agreements onto our customers, or the Inland Service customers, which are the affiliates and others. It gets an improved budget through the board activities, and then it ties into federal, state, and local assistance. The IRS 6320, public-private omnibus relationships and income. So the public side, start with the governance. West Virginia Public Port Authority is where we are established under, and we're vetting through that. We're an area port authority, and then our nonprofit. The emerging growth companies are the private affiliates. Emerging growth is companies that are newly established with under $1 billion in revenue, and there are certain qualifications where they grow on that title. So it's a new emerging growth.
Securities exchange.
Securities exchange. And so as you go through the governance, the public side with the private, and for-profit review encumbered real property. There's a lot of encumbrances on our properties in the park, on this one in particular. A lot of history of transactions. These properties go back 100 years, 50, 60 years. And so the different businesses are run through them, and as they change hands, they get encumbrances, there's easements, there's rights. But the projects related to that are basic. They're the basic infrastructure needs for business. Before you can even do business, it's the real estate, civil works, then you get into the operational business activities. But the utilities, civil works, real estate, and communications, that's the utility side, which are important, and all of our utilities are pretty old, so this is a perfect project. This is the base where you start in the pre-restore stage. And then the income for each of these sides, the real estate, leases and lease, civil works, and design, build, maintain concessions. Concessionaires pay for that concession because it's the same as an airport. Airlines pay the airport to be the hub or the main provider. Starbucks pays the airport to be in the airport because there's a lot of traffic and commerce through that region, so they're in the hotspot. So it's operations, use concessions, tolls, and fees. So as there are services provided and variety of aspects for supporting the activity, there are tolls and fees that will capture in the operations side. The finance instrument, well, they're not lined up. We have instrumentation fees and tariff management. So a lot of companies want to do asset tracking their vehicles, and they'll pay for the service to track their vehicles, and our network and our sensor technology is tied to the network, which allow them to do that. Communications, video conferencing, there's a variety of services from the technology side. And then fee and tariff management, you have to manage that and have programs and fee structures for that. And then there are service fees, Easy Pass. For example, when you go to the Port of Houston, there's an 8-lane highway going into the Port of Houston, and it's all Easy Pass commercial. You and I can buy an Easy Pass if we want to personally drive on that. But that's made to keep the freight moving, to keep the money generating, to keep the revenue and commerce going, keeps all the jobs and keeps all the services. So that eliminate the delay, and they have frontage roads and large infrastructure, 4 lanes on each side for the passenger vehicles that don't want to pay the tolls. So there's accommodations for all. But in the bottom, you see the various agreements. There's facilities and service agreements when you're supporting the facilities, common carrier access, which is the transportation providers, truckers, rail, tenant agreements for the groups within the complex or in the building, interconnected peering agreements or within the networks and the technology side, and service level, performance-related service level performance.
And a lot of lawyers.
Yeah, so I know I gave everybody a lot of information. For those that haven't been here very often, it's kind of hard to digest all that, but we open up for questions and answers to help fill in the gaps that may happen. So do I have any questions out there in the audience? A lot of lawyers. I'll use one of the first things. Everybody understands that, huh? That's good. You guys are great. This is the executive session topics. Usually, we're going to executive
Welcome
session.
to the federales.
30 minutes to an hour sometimes. You're welcome to wait. If we have anything that requires a decision, we're required to come back in and vote. I don't know if we've had any like that, but maybe but yeah, so with no questions,
Is Randy here?
Randy,
Tim?
yes?
You know, so everybody kind of gets a flavor of what's occurred here, because MBS sales and the history of the building long before was Signal. MBS sales was a warehouse, a functioning, up and running warehouse. It operated for many years down there, and it's been restored to this process and brought active. And simply put, basically, I think the same thing that it was doing in the previous years has been restored to CT-PAT level services. So the same doors, I think, some of the new doors are all new, right, Diane? Yeah, so loading on the south side and things of that nature. But basically, it was moving, well, back in those days, you did coils, I believe. The majority were coils. You were just getting into pallets. Yeah. It's just weight, guys, that generate the movement of goods through these high-level security terminals. Tim, you move any weight this last week?
Sure did. A little over 305,000 pounds on truck went up this week.
And that was processed good?
Process, yeah.
Joe,
Sir.
you move any out through the processing lines?
This week, no.
No, totally, to year to date. 3
I
million.
think it's a KPI. I think it was 700,000 or
About 1.6 million.
And let me ask the question, that's just running in half throttle, quarter throttle, as you certified down there?
Yeah.
How many trucks for the leveling of the yard?
It's going to take about 100 loads of material. About 100 loads of material.
So everyone's on the same wavelength. Those are trucks.
That's just for the aggregate base. 100 trucks.
Did they put that new highway system in yet? Off 22?
Those ramp, no, those go into almost in this time.
It's still only a 2-lane road down there, guys. Very, very dangerous, very, very dangerous. So, you know, the perimeter road extension, who's shaking their head dangerous, the risk assessor. There's been audit teams through the park and through the various feeders that come into the park. But anyway, that's a lot of tonnage. Rick, is that just raw tons moving through that site today?
Unheard of.
Yeah, but that was basically what the site was doing before. It sans the compressing and the stripping and everything else. So it's just pallets and measured weight. So if I ask a question, how does the terminal make money? Anybody can answer that question? A yellow book audit from the federals is right up there. I mean, we're not in the top 5, but we're in the top 10 ports selected around the world for this government accounting audit. And it's really it's when you get into the fine detailing of terminal operations. So we're moving a lot of freight down there. You've had drills, a very successful fire drill, which I commended everybody on down there. You've got the escape routes, right?
Correct.
And just for those that don't
Is Mark Kazmarek here?
No, sir.
Anybody know Mark Kazmarek? We all know Mark. All right, everybody knows Mark. He loaded a boxcar last week. Tim's supervision.
Yeah.
He actually got into it and he got out of it.
He's an office guy, so he's helping out.
He's Mark Kazmarek. He's on the planet Earth. Let's leave it at that. We'll just move on. He can drive a forklift in and out of a truck.
But what I want to add, for those of you that aren't real familiar with logistics, is there are networks out there of hubs and service centers and warehouses and a variety of things that, as we build this up, we get put on the network. Hellman is a partner of ours, and I don't see Mr. Mogan here tonight. Hellman Worldwide Logistics is working with us and brokers, and as this terminal gets put on the network, it's automatically, transportation loads, vehicles will be directed to this terminal because for the region as an available network. So it's not so much that you're running out there looking for business. If you build the port and follow the compliance, you work yourself into the logistics network, and you just become another node on a big network. And that brings money and revenue in and out in addition to what we can produce here. But we're now servicing from LA, Port of LA to Weirton, or New York or something across.
Our proclamation was San Luis.
Proclamation with San Luis Potosi, which is the second largest inland port in the world. It's in Mexico. Central.
And that contract has been in place with Hellman and been developing to the ingress, egress into the country, Mexico, through intercoastal waterway access. So it's pretty far along.
So Hellman as a partner and a logistics provider, they do a lot of the labor on that side to connect to the network. So the port, we built something that fits right into a massive logistics
And pre-restored.
pre-restored.
Not to correct.
But then the goal is to get to 21st century level facilities and business, which is brand new. So that's where you go, pre-restore, restore, rehabilitation, construction. I believe that's the steps.
So the 3 steps of financing. They're financed through design build funds and various different funds. So
Okay.
those are important numbers up there. And those are called key performance indicators. Those are available on the website.
Yep.
And that's the income generators of the under the Metal Service Center. There's 2 distribution services, warehouse services, so a lot of work down there. Trains will not be arriving until 2016.
So we're using, and again, as you look at a facility with 13 doors, I did a rough calculation, 65,000 pounds of trailer, 30 minutes to unload, that's 21,000 tons a day, full capacity. That's if everything's perfect.
Common access, do we have the square footage or however you guys measure it? The common access areas that are cleaned up here for the community, the public.
Oh, the common area.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of footage. We have calculated it.
There's a
Yeah.
variety of common areas that come out of this, used for
It's all the new grid.
new power.
BJ,
Yes.
is it true that someone bought the Elvis property and the drive-through was on the corner there?
I heard something, but I couldn't
For a
verify.
truck stop, or
Yeah,
that
maybe.
was gonna be part of the stakes when they fix that turn there?
They may,
We'd have to acquire that.
maybe. I don't really, I haven't looked into that.
Well, the main road, there's 5 miles of roadways that are being put in under this financing. It's 5 miles, Dan?
Yeah.
5 miles. And so the interchange, which is whatever that interchange is called out there on 22, I don't know if they ever named that.
Downtown, we're changing what it's called.
Well, it's up, it's further
Oh,
west.
you mean interchange?
564.
Fallsview.
Is that what it is, 564? Yeah, so that bypasses that whole area up there.
Yeah, Mike, so if we do our work, there's ramps that before you even get to the Weirton exit comes to the park, so.
This is
I think
just,
Strauss is supposed to be out of there in 90 days.
So what happens out at LB's won't affect anything with us, the trucks won't even go there. Anyway, that's good. I don't know, I'll have to check. Any other questions? All right, with that, let's, we need a motion, I believe, to go into executive session. Motion?
Motion.
Second? Oh, ready to read them? Read them. Brief FOIA request, investor update related to third-party transactions, financial advisor update, executive director and chairman disclosures, resolution 87, which is operating concession orders of intent, consolidated third-party level book, legal and financial emerging growth opportunities, and state code definitions. We got a motion and a second. Can we get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Members opposed? So let's adjourn to executive session. Motion to come back into. All right, so we're all back in executive, we're back in general public meeting. I don't think it's. We didn't really do anything with. No, we didn't do anything for the.
Oh, you're right.
So what we're gonna, we don't have any more to add to them. We went through all the topics. It was more of an update session. So what we're gonna do now with the update over, no voting, no activities taken. I'd like to get a motion to adjourn. Second. Second.
She just.
Matthew seconded, and all in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.